Hey everyone, it's Alicia. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday afternoon, and we are back from the beach. I am a little pink despite wearing like 50 sunscreen. Oh yes, folks, it was over 100 all day today, and we stayed mostly in the shade, but although you can't tell in this awful lighting because my face looks a little pasty in it, the rest of me is it's at least pink here and here, definitely here. And I was careful, but we had a lot of fun, folks. And now the 14-year-old dog is at the hairdresser, getting a haircut just like me. She's getting her going home shave and clip and cut. She won't be her fluffy good self anymore. She'll be like a little shaved, scrawny self. Thanks so much again for checking in. She is feeling better from her stomach, but there is a chronic issue. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. So if I'm a little emotional about that in the weeks ahead, I know those of you with cats and dogs and birds and pets understand, and those of you who have recently lost your fur baby understand, right? I know you do, right? I'm thinking of Dina and Jellybean. I know you guys get it. And I'm terrified. I'm not going to lie and tell you I'm not. I'm terrified. I'm terrified. I can't even talk about it because I'll start crying. But I have to just enjoy the time I have with her. That's what I have to do. And maybe I'll be really lucky and have her for longer than I think. Let's hope. But there's definitely something chronically wrong with her. And that happens, folks. 14 years old, it happens. It's just somehow I wasn't ready for it. Maybe we're never ready for it, you know. We had a wonderful day at the beach, and I'm super excited to be back on here with you. And, you know, I've been thinking about something the last couple of days and trying to figure out how to simplify it. Or if I could simplify it to help everybody out here. Because, you know, we have such an amazing community, a warm, supportive, loving community. And I would like to help clarify something that's been going on all over YouTube because it's in my professional purview. And I was trying to figure out how to simply explain it. But I think the best way to explain it is just really easily by giving you an example. So, you know, yesterday I told you I'm really inspired by Absolutely Alice's binder mail tutorial. Binder mail, by the way, is burning up all over Instagram and all over YouTube. It is like a hot item at the moment. And Absolutely Alice does a fantastic tutorial. I linked part 2. You should also look at part 1. It's a 2-part tutorial. It's really thorough. It's really easy to follow. Alice makes it pretty simple. So if you're interested in catching this huge wave of popularity of making some binder mail, then I highly suggest you watch that video that I recommended. But I told you there was another video I wanted you to watch, and I'm linking that one down below. Yesterday I showed you a little mini envelope, and on it I had made a sequence. Remember, it was the one that Jellybean sent me, and I had made a sequence top to it. Well, folks, that was not my idea. Where did I learn it from? Absolutely Alice. I watched an amazing video that she did on how to make those little envelopes into shakers. Now, granted, that was a prototype, and the truth is I'm testing those up for Christmas, because think about how cute little shaker mini envelopes would be for Christmas. Santa letters, right? But folks, this is not my idea. It's Alice's. And I watched her video, and I was suddenly inspired to make little Santa, letters to Santa. Yes, I was. I was very inspired after watching it. Okay, so my envelopes may in the end look very different from Alice's, because Alice does like clean creating. Sorry, I thought I heard the door. Clean, like very clean, like Alicia Love Letter Generation. She calls herself Hoplop, but she's a super precise creator. She's just really creative. And she uses all sorts of mediums, which is what I love about her work. It's one of the things I love about her work. So Alice's envelopes and my envelopes at the end of the day are going to look radically different, right? So you'd say, well, they're not even the same thing, Alicia. Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't come up with this idea on my own. I got the idea from Alice, from watching her tutorial, from watching her project share. That's what sparked the idea. That means the idea is not originally mine. So what does that mean here on YouTube? We see hundreds of videos every day. I watch tons of videos every day, right? Well, folks, if I create something that is inspired by someone else's work, if you've noticed here, I credit them each and every time. I've talked many times this week about those mini memdexes I'm making for Halloween, and each and every time I tell you, I got the idea from Crafting with Lily. Now, why do I do that? Yes, I love Lily. Hey, Lily. And she knows I love her. But that's not the only reason that I do that. I do it because it was Lily's idea. The idea did not start with me. It is not mine, and therefore I cannot take credit for it. And you know, when I was making the prototype of that beautiful flip-out wallet that Jellybean sent me, I credited Jellybean. And to Jelly Bean's credit, she wrote back and said, hey, wait a second. Have to be honest, though. I didn't know you were going to make it right away. So here's the original video where I got the idea from, and here's the person who did it. And she credited somebody else. Now, the truth is, Jelly Bean radically changed that from that original idea, from that original video. I know because I watched it. And that person intended for this product to be something very different, and Jelly Bean radically changed it. You probably wouldn't even recognize it as the same project. And still, she credited that person. By law, folks, if you change a project by more than 20%, then it's no longer that other person's project. But that doesn't mean, just because you're not breaking the law, it doesn't mean it's right. We're all makers here. That means we're all creators. And we know darn well if we get an idea for something because of someone else's originality. And when we're inspired by somebody, like I'm constantly inspired by Lily, by Tony Craft Purge, by Crafty Kimchi, by Alicia Love Letter Generation, by Alice, right? I'm constantly inspired by them. But when I make those pinwheels, even if it's the 5th time and I've made them differently now and they look nothing like Tony's, I always tell you I learned how to make those from Tony. That was Tony's idea, right? The mini memdexes, that was Lily's idea. The mini envelopes, that was Alice's idea, right? And if I make that little shaker box that Alicia made, that was Alicia's idea, not this Alicia's idea. As makers, we have an ethical responsibility, especially because we're makers, right? We want people to enjoy our projects. We want them to make them. The reason we do tutorials is so that other people can learn how to do what we're doing. That's why Lily does those for us, right? To help us become better makers. That's why Tony does it. That's why Alice does it. That's why Alicia does it. These are very generous people who are doing this, and they want us to make the item. But that doesn't mean that we get to claim it as our idea. It wasn't our idea. It was theirs. And so when we make it, and even if it looks radically different, it's our obligation as makers to say, hey, I learned how to do this from Tony Craft Purge, or hey, I learned how to do this from Crafting with Liller, right? And you give them the credit for the idea because it was theirs. And you know, I gotta tell you, my Santa envelopes are gonna look radically different from the project shared that Alice did. Because, you know, I'm a messy artsy maker, and Alice is super precise, and I'm doing Christmas, which already changes it, and I'm thinking Santa's workshop and all that jazz. It doesn't matter. It wasn't my idea. The idea for that shaker top came from Alice. So even when I show them, and even if I make them 5 holidays in a row, and I radically alter them, and now they're like 70% different than Alice's, well, that means I'm not breaking the law if I don't credit her. But what does that mean morally? In my opinion, it means I still have to give Alice the credit because it was her idea. And as a maker, I want someone to respect when I come up with an idea that is uniquely my own, right? And I therefore have to also make sure I'm respecting everybody else's idea. Now, folks, we do all watch lots of videos. And sometimes by accident, we may have watched something 30 videos ago, those of us who are heading towards 50, okay? Our memory's not what it once was. So we may have watched a video 50 videos ago, saw something, and it triggered something in our brain subconsciously. We're not aware of it. It's not a part of our conscious thinking. And, you know, a month later we make something and maybe it has 5% of that idea in it. That's not the same thing. We didn't knowingly use somebody else's idea. We didn't watch a tutorial go step by step and then make this thing. No, months later some kind of inspiration hit and we created something. Now, if we ever figure it out or we become aware of where the inspiration came from, then we got to give that person credit. But if we never do, sometimes Miss Ida's great at this. She'll say, you know, folks, I know I saw a video 3 years ago. I know I did. I can't really remember what the video's about exactly, but I remember that there was this top part of this, and I'm kind of using that idea, and I wish I could remember who that person was. I mean, Ida's that good at it. She's that good at being like, it was 3 years ago, and it's not even the same project idea or same season, but the top part was like taken from that. That's a really ethical way of dealing with things. I have a lot of respect for Miss Ida for a lot of reasons, but that's one of them. She'll even credit like a little pom-pom thing that she took from someone who she watched a video of 3 years ago who's not even on YouTube anymore. That's very ethical, folks. Very, very ethical. If Miss Ida says she created something, she created something. Otherwise, she gives credit where it's due. And the other thing is, why not give credit where it's due? Why not be excited that someone inspired you? Look how many times I've told you, Crafty Kimchi so inspires me with Willow Lane. You know, if you took a look at the rack I sent her, I did not send her any Willow Lane. And that's because mine aren't good enough yet, folks. I'm working on it. Right now that's on hold because, you know, I'm busy working on Halloween and Christmas and my swaps. But I am working on it. And one day when I feel a bit more confident and I'm back home with my regular die cutter, I will make Anne some Willow Lane. Because she's the one who taught me, she and Lily together inspired me to really get involved with Willow Lane. And it's thanks to them that I made better projects. So I'll always credit those two for that. Always, always, always. Just like I'll always credit Tony Craftbridge for my pinwheels and my mini file folders that don't even look the same anymore. I mean, Tony actually indents hers, and I started off doing that, but now sometimes I don't. I like them straight. And I fill them with loads of paper and all sorts of things. I do it differently, but that idea was not mine. It was Tony's. I hope this didn't muddy the water more for you. It's just there has been so much about this lately. You know, it's like more than 12 videos. There was someone who I saw yesterday online who came on and has had to close her Etsy shop because she was selling books and she didn't know that the stamps that she was using were copyrighted. That you cannot use copyrighted images in things you sell. So, like, for instance, if you buy a stamp set and you use that stamp set to make cards and then you sell those cards, oh, that's a breach of copyright, folks. That's a really serious breach of copyright. Unless you have permission from that company and the artist to use those stamps, you can't use them for sale. And from what I understand from this person, and I don't know this, folks, I'm taking this person's word for it, you should do your own research. A lot of companies let you do sales at craft fairs, but not online anywhere. So, I mean, I have no interest in selling my stuff ever, so I haven't gone and investigated this. But I can tell you from years of working as a creative director that you cannot just go and take someone's image and use it and sell something. If anyone ever took one of the images I designed and sold it, oh, it would be a whole lot of trouble. Whole lot of trouble. And it wouldn't even be me doing it. The ad agency I work for would sue in a second because that's intellectual property. So, you know, every stamp we buy is someone else's art. Every die we buy was made by somebody else. You know, those dies by Nicole, that's her art. So you can't use a Nicole die and then create something and then sell it. You can't do that, folks. Not without her permission, because you're using her art. So you need her permission. I know this sounds awfully complicated. If you're not selling anything, it's much simpler. You know, just don't sell your stuff online and it's really simple. Just when you're using an idea that's not your own, give credit to the person. I like to also link the person's original video. You know I do that all the time. Like when I first started doing the pinwheels, I linked Tony's video over and over again and I directed you to it. I'm linking Alice's video now for the tutorial on how to make those shaker envelopes. I like to do that because I like to celebrate the people that inspire me. I think they're giving me a gift and I want to give them something back. And I think that's the best way to look at this. People that inspire us to make are giving us a gift. Look at Lily, right? She does that for me all the time. So does Tony Craftbridge. So does Alicia Love Letter Generation. So does Crafty Kimchi. So does Alice. And all sorts of people. So many of you inspire me. Look at Lauren Cunningham's entry. Fabulous. Fabulous. First time making mixed media. So why wouldn't I want to celebrate that person? And that's sort of how I see it. It's not an obligation for me to acknowledge the people that inspired me. It's an honor. Because they gave me something. They gave me a spark to create. And that's the most amazing gift anyone can give me. Like, really, that's the most amazing gift. If I'm making something because I thought it was exciting, wow, that's a present. So it's my pleasure to give them all the credit. My pleasure. You know, so try to think, when you're making these videos, try to think about where you got these ideas from. And most of the time, people just appreciate being acknowledged, that it was their idea. You know, it's that simple. You know, Lisa sent me that beautiful book kit, right? If I send that book kit on to someone else, which I'm going to, I have to credit Lisa with the idea. It was Lisa's idea. Those flag kits I made and I sent out to people, that was my idea. All sorts of people come up with ideas. And we want to celebrate those because it's originality, right? It's ingenuity. Look at Susan Tootsie Tucker and that skeleton whisk. That was That was really innovative, right? If any of us go ahead and make a skeleton whisk, and there might be somebody making a skeleton whisk card right now, Susan Tootsie Tucker, then I'm going to credit Susan Tootsie Tucker. And we should all want to do that. So I hope this didn't make it more confusing. My goal was to make it less confusing because there seems to be so much chit-chatter about what is right and what isn't. Well, there's two things involved. What's the law? And the law is, if you haven't changed it by 20%, they mean radical changes. Like, for instance, if you're making a fox memdex, right? And you reproduce the fox memdex and it's still a fox, there's no way you can claim 20%. There's no way. You'd have to make it like a snake, and it would have to have like a completely different dimension, and right? So by 20%, they don't mean like small little changes, like, oh, I used different colored paper, or I used a different beak, or I used a different set of tentacles. No, folks, it would have to be a different animal. It would have to be a different size. It would have, all sorts of regulations. They mean radical changes. 20% is actually a radical change in the law, but that's just the law. I think what we want to ask ourselves as makers is, what do we feel is right to do for each other? And I know the people on here are amazing. I got to tell you, all those wee wishes for the last few months have just warmed my heart. And everyone just helped everybody. The amount of rack that went out in this community in the last 2 months is awe-inspiring. We had people without die cutters who are getting die cutters. You guys are incredible. So this is going to be real simple for you folks. This is going to be really simple. All you have to do is say, hey, I got this great idea from so-and-so. Tree does it all the time too. She made those great pom-pom bows and she credited the person and even suggested we watch the tutorial. That's all you got to do, folks. It's really simple. Say, hey, this awesome maker inspired me to make these. It's just that simple. Well, that was my whole trying to make this simpler for you. Copyright and artistic copyright is a tricky, hot mess. And it hurts people's feelings, I think, sometimes. And I know nobody on this channel wants to hurt anybody. So I figured if I could reduce it down to its simplest form, it would make it easy. So that's pretty much what we all have to do for each other, is make sure that we're honoring anyone who gives us ideas. And I got to tell you, all of you give me ideas each and every day. And I'm upfront about wanting to steal them. Tony was so sweet. She came on, she's like, Alicia, I'm stealing that. And I'm like, please do. Please steal that, because that's a big compliment. Right? Tony liked the little shakers I made for Anne. And that was a big compliment, Tony. And I thank you. And please steal it and please make it better and then show me how to make it better. And then that could be a combined project. Wouldn't that be cool? I would be very grateful for that. All right, folks, that was my little ramble. I really am trying to simplify it, but I hope I did an okay job at that. You'll let me know for sure. I know you will. And I would appreciate that. I am so grateful to you guys. I laughed my head off reading those comments about Dina's boot. Folks, I had my not good face on. So we were leaving today to go to the beach, and they were outside on their landing, and I gave them stink eye. Like, I gave them New York stink eye, like, which is not a good look. And my husband, like, elbowed me in the ribs. He was like, stop it. They're never going to give you back any mail. But I'm sorry. There's just a part of me that's like, I don't believe that you accidentally forgot Dina's boot. And I'm a sensitive person. Like, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. But really? That boot is really big. You're telling me that you didn't see that on your counter? I don't know, folks. I loved Crafty Michelle's word for it. Dodgy. Yeah, it was dodgy, all right. Shady like gray and mud and dirt all in one. That's what I gotta say. Yeah, when we do Alicia Love Letter Generations entry, we're going to have to check it 3 times because they had their little grimy paws on that package. Who knows what's missing? Maybe there's a little Maggie Holmes butterfly that she's got up on her fridge. Seriously, could happen. I tell you, folks, I would never have suspected the neighbors. I did not go to the post office today and apologize. I have to do that on Sunday when I take in all these packages. That's when I got to eat some crow. But, that's good for the soul. Sometimes it's good for the soul to be humble and to be humbled, because I think it reminds us that we're not so on top of things after all. It's good for us. So I'll have to go in and be like, I'm sorry. It was the neighbor. Sorry about that. Sorry, I thought that your postal people stole the boot. Well, shame on me. I jumped to conclusions. I did. But I couldn't figure out, like, I would never have thought of the neighbors. Only my husband's mind works like this. As soon as he saw Alicia's package, he said that triggered the whole thing. He was like, oh, I know what happened. I would not have gone there, so I'm grateful he did, because it's thanks to him we have the boot back, and now I also know to watch these folks. Oh yeah, and the mail. Thank goodness this is the last challenge. Can you imagine if we had another one? I would be like, about every time a package came in. Yeah. All right, folks. I have a whole bunch of making to do. We came back, it's already like after 5 or 5, just 5. But I have a whole bunch of making to do, but I'm going to have a little rest first, and I have to get back to some projects that are all over the place in the living room. I did do some laying down and stuff this morning, and my husband let me leave it a total mess so I could come back to it. So I want to do some of that making and then some cleaning up. And we have some more contest entries to do. I'm hoping to get to them. I thought we would be home later, so I'm hoping to get to them tonight, but I can't promise you. And the only reason for that is, yeah, I think that the husband is probably going to want to either go out for dinner or have dinner and spend time together, because last night I disappeared and worked for many, many hours. And he wasn't offended, but he didn't love it, which is why I asked you guys, what do you do? And then you were gracious enough to tell me. So I think I have to wait till he falls asleep and then get up and finish making my stuff. So if I can, I will come on with contest entries. If not, I will be on tomorrow with them as promised. Thank you for your patience. I know I'm a little bit behind, and I don't mean to be. I'm juggling a lot of balls. We're wrapping up our trip. We're trying to do a little bit of spending time together here. I've got stuff going out in the mail. I've got repackaging to do. I've got to do some videos. It's a lot this weekend, and I'm doing my best. So thank you for your patience. Yeah, thank you. Just thank you. That's all. Thanks, too, for being such a wonderful community. I really want to say that first and foremost. I should have said that at the beginning of this video, because that's actually what made me want to share with you how copyright worked. You guys are wonderful, and this is such a happy, genuinely loving place. And I feel wonderful to be able to share with you each and every day, not just what we make, but some of the experiences and the travels and the tribulations and the purple hair and all of our learning together. So I am grateful for all of you. You're wonderful people. You're warm, you're generous, and very supportive of one another. And that's exactly the kind of channel I always want this to be. I have to tell you, folks, this is why I created this place. It is, Crafty Kim, she said the nicest thing yesterday, that this is a feel-good channel. And that made my heart swell, because that's what I always want this to be. For me, there's not really room for anything else. This is a safe place to make, to show your making, to grow, in that way that Lily talks about it being possible for us to grow, and for us to be encouraging of one another and to help one another and to be kind to one another. That's pretty much what this channel is, succinctly summed up. And I hope it's, I hope that you feel that way each and every day when you come here. You make me feel that way. And so I say thank you. This is a safe place to make, and it's a safe place to share your work. It's a safe place to ask questions like, what's Win Costella? I really did ask Tony that. Seriously, I was like, what the heck is this Win Costella stuff? And she answered me. Told you, Tony's good people. So all of those questions, never be afraid to ask anything. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, hopefully someone else can. And if not, we'll find an answer for you. But
it's 5 o'clock.
And there's our man. Hello, man. We have to say hello to the man now. I feel like if we don't say hello to the man, we're going to lose the man when I get the new laptop. Yeah, it's going to be weird. Be waiting on every hour and there won't be anyone saying, it's 5 o'clock. Anyway, folks, thank you for making this such a wonderful place. Such a wonderful, happy, supportive, creative place. It wouldn't be any of that without you. So happy Friday, folks. I hope your weekend has lots of making plans in it. I hope you also have some time for yourself, because I think that's important for we makers. We need some time to think and process and daydream. And I hope you spend some time with family or people that make you feel loved. And that's really it for now. I'll try to be back on later tonight. Until then, happy making and happy Friday. Bye for now.